Ron Miscavige is seeking to make money on the name of his famous son, David Miscavige.
What if they kidnap me or something like that to get him to stop what he's doing?
Leader David Miscavige is crazy, insane, and should be fired. He paid over $100 million to launch Scientology TV in 2018.
David Miscavige.
David Miscavige's.
David Miscavige.
For David Miscavige's.
David Miscavige.
David Miscavige.
At the very heart of the mysterious world of Scientology lies a spiritual center surrounded by debates and controversies. This place is strictly closed to anyone from the outside, which raises many questions and concerns about serious accusations directed at the church. But today, we'll reveal the horrible truth that lies within its walls. There are ongoing claims of separating families.
Sad situation this mother is blaming on the Church of Scientology.
I want this horrible practice of disconnection.
Different forms of abuse, including both verbal and physical.
Sexually abused, I was physically abused, I was mentally abused.
And keeping members against their will. The people in Scientology go to great lengths to avoid being looked into closely, with plans that seem to be put together by their mysterious leader, David Miscavige. One of the biggest mysteries within Scientology involves the case of Miscavige's wife, Shelly, who the public has not seen for more than 10 years. Trying to find Shelly Miscavige leads us through remote mountains far away from any city or town. This area's breathtaking and isolated nature could very well be a perfect hiding spot for Shelly, possibly kept in a secret place that is also meant to serve as a safe spot in case of global catastrophe. Even though the church does not talk about it, many people think that Shelly has been sent away to this hidden jail by her own husband, David Miscavige, who controls the church completely. Ron Miscavige, who is David's dad, shares a horrible view on how cruel his son can be, confirming the fears that he could indeed hide his own wife away from the world. As the search continues, it's clear that the Church of Scientology does not welcome any form of investigation. They try to scare those looking into them.
Like psychotics, because what we were behind the scenes is insane.
With a very long letter before even knowing what the investigation is about. This shows the church's approach of attacking and bad-mouthing as a defense, something Mike Rinder, once a top official in the church and now working with actress Leah Remini against Scientology's wrongdoings, explains very well. Leah Remini and Mike Rinder fight for Shelly Miscavige to be freed, suggesting that keeping her isolated is a way for the church to protect its secrets. The church's way of handling criticism is to suppress, scare, and harass using spying to keep critics quiet. When we first started asking about Scientology's actions, we were met with hostility and dodging, which shows how the church prefers to intimidate and avoid straight answers, especially about where Shelly Miscavige might be. This attitude is a clear sign of the church's secretive and defensive stance against anyone trying to find out more. Behind the attractive appearance of Scientology, boosted by famous names like Tom Cruise, there's a secretive and dark side. Founded by science fiction writer L. Ron Hubbard in 1950, Scientology claims to offer a way to spiritual enlightenment through a kind of self-help psychology. However, the truth involves getting followers caught in a net of stories created by Hubbard. Hubbard was a man of charm and controversy, convincing people to give a lot of money for the promise of spiritual freedom. Through sessions called auditing, followers share their most personal secrets and spend a lot in hopes of accessing the church's secret teachings, which include strange stories about Xenu, an alien ruler. This part of the teaching often makes people reconsider their beliefs and the financial and emotional costs they've invested. Leah Remini, who joined Scientology as a child, and Shelly Miscavige, given to Hubbard's care at just 12, show the deep commitments demanded by the church. Both signed a billion-year contract dedicating their lives to the organization for very little in return, showing the extreme level of commitment expected from its members. The experiences of Remini and Miscavige show how the church controls its members' lives, with families even giving up their children to its cause. This extreme dedication is seen in both Shelly Miscavige and David Miscavige's climb to the top of Scientology, becoming the perfect leaders after Hubbard's death. Yet the sudden disappearance of Shelly Miscavige in 2005 remains a dark cloud over Scientology, triggering investigations into her whereabouts. Her absence was particularly noticeable at Tom Cruise's 2006 wedding to Katie Holmes, leading to questions that continue to echo inside and outside the church, highlighting the secretive and often disturbing nature of Scientology's internal practices. In a setting filled with intrigue and suspense, Shelly Miscavige's absence from what Scientology announced as the wedding of the century led to a storm of speculation and worry. This occasion, meant to be a lavish celebration, turned into the center of a very serious and unsettling puzzle. Where is Shelly Miscavige? The situation played out like a moment from a thriller movie. In the opulence of a castle setting, any attempt to ask about Shelly's location was dodged and met with no response. The lack of her presence was likened to having a royal celebration without the queen herself, highlighting both the importance and the bizarre nature of her not being there. It seemed as though an important character had just disappeared into thin air, creating a gap that nobody seemed willing or able to address. When Leah Remini asked about what happened to Shelly, she found herself thrown into a situation that felt like living through a horror story. She was called to the main offices of Scientology and put through endless sessions of intense questioning and auditing. This ordeal not only took a toll on her finances, costing her $300,000, but also left her emotionally drained. She was pushed into admitting to wrongdoings she hadn't done and to praise Tom Cruise and David Miscavige as the sole saviors of humankind. Despite the peaceful appearance of Gold Base, the headquarters of Scientology, many disturbing stories have come out of it. Tony Ortega, who is known for his critical views of the church, shares that Shelly Miscavige used to live in comfort with her husband David until she made a small decision without his approval, which led to disastrous results. David Miscavige's extreme reaction to what Shelly did, as seen by people close to the situation, was a precursor to her sudden and still unexplained absence. The lack of any comment from those inside the church, even from Shelly's relatives, offers a grim view of the atmosphere of control and fear under David Miscavige's leadership. The story surrounding Shelly Miscavige goes beyond the mystery of a person gone missing. It sheds light on the dynamics of power, intimidation, and dominance within the Church of Scientology. It's a powerful illustration of the extreme measures some will resort to keep their power, and the significant consequences that can come from simply asking a question in a place where keeping quiet is the norm. In the dimly lit hallways of power within the Church of Scientology, we find ourselves wrapped in a story filled with quietness, fear, and the mysterious disappearance of people. This story revolves around David Miscavige, the secretive leader of the church, and his wife, Shelly Miscavige. Shelly's sudden disappearance has sparked a wave of rumors and worries. The narrative is one of family members becoming strangers to each other, and the church's practice of keeping secrets, where questions go unanswered, making the quest for the truth a dangerous path to tread. Ron Miscavige, who is no longer close to his son David, the powerful leader of Scientology, finds himself wandering through a maze of silence as he seeks answers about his missing daughter-in-law, Shelly. Asking about her is considered off-limits, a rule one does not break in conversations with David. Ron's efforts to find out what happened to Shelly led him to face the church's solid wall of secrecy. Despite trying to reach out to his son, Ron is constantly redirected to voicemail, highlighting the deep loneliness and rejection experienced by those brave enough to question or think about leaving the church. The enigma surrounding Shelly Miscavige's disappearance, which has lasted for more than 10 years, symbolizes the church's secretive ways of operating. Leah Remini, an actress who once belonged to the church, becomes a key figure in this story, driven by her unwillingness to take the church's vague assurances about Shelly's safety at face value. Her insistence on concrete proof of Shelly's condition, along with Ron's unanswered inquiries, shines a light on a disturbing pattern associated with David Miscavige, his habit of silencing, avoiding, and removing those who disagree or pose a problem from the church's storyline. The importance of this story goes beyond just the personal. It touches on larger issues like the power dynamics within the church, the control it exerts, and the personal sacrifices made by those who remain blindly loyal to it. It prompts us to think deeply about how far authority can go and the strength of the human will to resist being dominated by an institution. The lack of information about Shelly Miscavige and how the church handles questions about her paints a grim picture, showing the negative effects of Scientology's secretive nature on the lives of individuals and families within its reach. As Ron Miscavige reaches into the unknown, trying to reconnect with his son, and Leah Remini stands against the established norms, their actions symbolize a wider battle for clarity, responsibility, and regaining control over one's life despite formidable challenges. The silence that envelops Shelly's situation serves as a stark warning about the extent to which authority can be used to keep people in the dark and apart from each other. Yet it also stands as evidence of the persistent hope and bravery of those determined to find the truth. Deep within the secretive stronghold of Scientology, known as the Gold Base, lies a hidden and harsh truth, shielded from the outside world. Within this compound exists a place called The Hole, acting as a makeshift jail for up to 120 of the church's high-ranking officials at any one time. These individuals, accused of various misdeeds, faced endless detention, with some remaining trapped for more than 15 years, and the whereabouts of others still unknown. The Hole is akin to a dungeon for the Dark Ages, comprised of 2 trailers fused together, their windows covered with bars and doors constantly watched. The living conditions inside were horrific. Food resembling nothing more than mush, the bare floor serving as a bed, and periods where they were left in the dark due to no electricity. Physical abuse was a common occurrence, adding to the suffering of those confined. Mike Rinder, who once served as the face of Scientology to the outside world, was one of the individuals locked up in this place for 2 years. His stories about David Miscavige, the leader of Scientology, reveal a terrifying image of a man given to sudden and violent fits of rage, personally delivering beatings not just sporadically, but repeatedly. Rinder's reflections on Miscavige's lack of remorse or empathy suggest a person missing a fundamental sense of right and wrong, compassion, or understanding towards others. The impact of such a harsh environment goes beyond just the physical barriers, pulling apart families and leading to deep-seated estrangement. The experience of Ron Miscavige and his wife Becky, who decided to leave the church, highlights the difficult choices faced by those who choose to leave. Their story sheds light on the severe hold Scientology has on its followers. After spending 42 years in what they once believed was their spiritual community, their escape in 2012 highlights the desperate measures people will take to gain their freedom. Ron's account, especially the tense moments of their escape, emphasizes the oppressive environment they were desperate to leave behind. The fear of being under constant watch if they were caught underscores the extreme lengths to which Scientology goes to keep its members under control. Their journey to freedom, though emotionally charged, also marks a moment of significant joy and liberation, symbolized by Becky's phone call to her brother to tell him they were finally free. Is Scientology truly one of the darkest places on earth, or are these stories just media exaggerations? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. What's your take?